Hi, and welcome back to the visualization section of this course, where we explore how convolutional neural networks or CNNs actually learn. In this part, we will focus on maximizing filters. The goal here is to understand what kind of image would cause a specific filter to activate or fire the most. In other words, we were trying to visualize the ideal input for a given filter. So let's dive in and see how we can achieve this. As I mentioned earlier, what kind of input would maximize our filter? The truly understand what the filter is looking for, we want to find the specific input that produce the highest possible output from the filter after applying ReLU activation. In this example, you can see we start with an input image on the left, apply a filter or kernel in the middle, and generate a feature map as output. Then we pass that through a ReLU function which keeps only the positive values and zero out the negatives. The key idea here is what input image would lead this filter to produce the maximum ReLU values in the output. Essentially, we are asking what does this filter like the most? And figuring that out is a bit tricky, but it's a powerful way to interpret what features the filter is responding to. So let's take a look at how this actually works. Suppose we had a filter that responded most strongly, meaning it produced the maximum activation when it saw a chain. You might expect that the input image which maximize this filter would look like a clean, clear photo of a chain, something like this image on the left. But in reality, when we actually perform filter maximization, the results looks more like the image on the right, a colorful, somewhat noisy, and abstract pattern. It might seem a bit messy or confusing at first, but this is what the CNN has actually learned to recognize as the most activating features for that filter. It's it is really fascinating to analyze these kinds of results. So there has been a lot of interesting work in the area of CNN visualization, and this idea is closely tied to Google Deep Dream, no? Which we will explore later in the course. The algorithm is all about manipulating filter and class maximization to produce these surreal, dreamlike visuals. By visualizing the inputs that maximize each filter, we get great look at how a CNN breaks down and interprets the visual world, this kind of modular, no, hierarchical decomposition of visual space. Well, sounds fancy, but at its core, it's pretty intuitive. So each layers, like the ones in the Con V1, mainly pick up on simple features. Example here are the direction and colors. This filter detects basic visual building blocks. As we move down or deeper, like into the ConV2 one, these simple elements begin to combine into slightly more structured textures. Like I think grids, spots, and subtle patterns. Now, by the time we hit the conv3, we start to see more distinct and complex arrangements. And in conv1, so those patterns became even cle- clearer. No? So this progression from a simple to complex shows how CNNs build up their understanding of images, layering features to eventually recognize the detailed structures and high level patterns. It's really fascinating to see how each layer contributes to that learning. Well, in this slides provides a summary of filter maximization, showcasing how different filters in convolutional layers responds to specific patterns. So you can see that many of these filters are visually similar but appeared um, often appeared rotated often by 90 degrees. This this illustrates the rotation invariance property of convolutional neural networks, which helps them recognize features regardless of orientation. All right. So so with we need to load a trained model, so one that we've already trained beforehand. And once that's in place, the next step is to define the loss function that aims to maximize the activation of a specific filter within a specific layer. For that, we provide the filter index and the layer name as inputs. Then now there's a small but important trick here. We normalize the gradient of the input image pixels. So this helps avoid gradients that are either too small or too large, and it makes the gradient ascent um, process smoother and more stable overall. Now, now, um, this m- this might sound a bit abstract or confusing at first, and well, that's totally okay. So, I'll start to click once we dive into the code. So this explanation is meant to give you a high level overview of what's going on. In simpler terms, what we're doing is creating a loss function that we optimize not by minimizing it like in gradient descent, but by maximizing it. Hence, we use gradient ascent. So this for implementing this one, so instead of gradient descent, we will use gradient ascent. And what we're trying to maximize is the response of a particular filter in the network by tweaking the input image. Hopefully that makes things a bit clearer. Once we implemented this, it should really starts to make sense. After this, we will on maximizing class activations. And we will, well, in my opinion, is one of the coolest parts of this CNN visualization. So, well, this will make sense later on when we will try to implement this maximizing the filters and maximizing class activations. Okay, so next would be, okay, so now let's dive into maximizing class activations. Well, this is a really fascinating topic in my opinion. So the idea here is to figure out what kind of input image would maximize the output activation for a specific class in a CNN. In other words, we are trying to visualize the ideal input that the network associates most strongly with a particular class. So let's explore this concept a bit further. So what does maximization actually mean? So let's imagine we have trained a CNN to classify images as either cats or dogs. So now the big question is, does the CNN really understand what a cat looks like? Specifically, what kind of input would make the CNN output a prediction with 100% confidence that it is seeing a cat? So that's exactly what class maximization aims to explore. In essence, we're trying to generate an image that maximizes the probability of a specific class, like sample cat or dog, according to the CNN. So, what does the ideal cat or dog look like to the network? To dive into this, we will be using a pre-trained CNN model, the um, the BGG model. This one is a classic CNN architecture. Don't worry if you're not familiar with it yet. We will cover it soon. For now, let's focus on understanding how class maximization helps us peek into what the network has really learned. Okay, so let's take a look at this. The image of the right is particularly interesting. This is the result of what's called class maximization. What this means is that it is the image which, when we fed into a convolutional neural network, in this case BGG model trained on ImageNet dataset, maximizes the output probability for the bald eagle class. In other words, this image caused the network to be almost 100% certain that it would that that it is looking at a bald eagle. Now, at first glance, it might look like an abstract art of noise, but if you study it closely, you can see you will start to notice some patterns. So there are repeated shapes that resemble beaks, bird heads, and feathers. So there's a beak at one angle. There's a big another here, other one over here. Maybe even a partial of a bird head here. So these are the key features the network has learned to associate with a bald eagle. It's not how our human brains would recognize a bald eagle. We expect a full, coherent image like the one on the left. But for CNN, these disjointed patterns are enough to scream bald eagle with high confidence because it is focusing on the specific visual features it's been trained to detect. So let's take a look at some key takeaways for this. CNN tends to internalize local features, things like feathers, beaks, and eyes, that resemble the class they have been trained to recognize. But what's really interesting is that CNNs learn very different from us. Or at least that's what we believe. We still don't fully understand how the brain learns and process visual information. Since a lot of that happens behind the scenes, so to speak. So what we do now is that CNNs perform kind of decomposition of the visual input. They break down the image into increasingly abstract representations using the hierarchical modular network of conventional filters. Each layer builds on the previous one, forming a sort of intuition. So these patterns together probably belong to this class. So the internal network becomes probabilistic. It's essential. Well, it's essentially learning the likelihood that certain combinations of feature points to a specific class labels. So at that and the fact that the CNN learn is in such a fundamental different way, well, that tell us something important, no? That these models can sometimes be fooled or misled because they are not reasoning in the same as we do. So they are just picking up on statistical patterns. Okay, so take a look at this. Well, it's a funny but insightful example. On the left, we see a collection of images comparing Chihuahua faces to muffins or cookies. So it's hard to tell at first glance, while humans can usually figure it out pretty quickly. But CNNs can get confused because they are relying heavily on local features like color, texture, and shape. So something like a chihuahua and a raisin cookie might actually trigger similar responses in the network. Now let's talk about something a bit more concerning. The It's called the adversarial attacks. So this involves making a small, almost imperceptible, changes to an image, like adding a tiny bit of carefully crafted noise that can completely change the model's prediction. To us, the image still looks like the same, but the CNN might suddenly classify it as something entirely different. So here, no, in the top example, so adding a tiny bit of adversarial noise to an image of a pig makes the model predict as airliner with high confidence. It's clearly wrong, but the added pixels have activated filters that the model associates with the airliner class. Then, in the second example, we take a normal banana, clearly a banana, and paste a small patch from a different image, like let's say what's this? I think this is one is a stone or sort of whatever object it is. And the result is the CNN now classifies the entire image as a toaster, completely ignoring the banana in the scene. And it's not that the toaster prediction is impossible. The patch does not contain toaster-like features. But ideally, the model should be uncertain or split its prediction. Maybe assigning some probability to both bananas and toaster. Instead, it confidently picks the wrong label. So these examples highlight a key vulnerability in CNNs. Small changes, often imperceptible to us, can completely derail the model's prediction. Okay, so there's something known as one pixel attack, where modifying just a single pixel in an image can completely change the prediction of a convolutional neural network or CNN. So you can see here the changes almost imperceptible, but they have a huge impact. So on the right, so we have examples from popular pre-trained CNN architectures, the Alcond, NIN, and BGG. Take a look in one case, changing a single pixel causes the model to classify a ship as a car with 99.7% confidence. So as you can see here, we have this one pixel attack here, and it misclassify it as a car with a 99.7% confidence. So that's a massive misclassification from a tiny tweak. So other examples here include horse becoming a frog, deer turning into an airplane, and a dog being misclassified as a cat with a high accuracy here. So what this illustrates is just how vulnerable CNNs can be to adversarial attacks, especially once a subtool as this one, no, just one pixel attack in the image, it will lead to misclassification. As a computer vision engineer or a deep learning practitioner, our challenge is to build models that are not just accurate but also robust against this kind of simple attacks. So you can read it more here in this work. This is an archive. This is a paper for adversarial attacks. Okay, now let's take a look at the GradCam algorithm, which gives us a powerful way to visually explain what a convolutional neural network is learning. So let's dive in and see what GradCam actually looks like in action. All right, so this is what the output of a GradCam. So what exactly is it showing us? So GradCam, or because the real name here is the oh wait, let me, okay. It is gradient weighted. It's a gradient weighted class activation mapping, or GradCam, is really useful technique to for visualize where a convolutional neural network is focusing its attention. It helps us understand which part of the image are contributing most of the model's prediction. So it works by using gradients flowing into the final convolutional layer to produce the heat map. Like the one you see here, the highlighted regions that indicate the areas that were most influential in the model's decision for a particular class. So in this example, you can see the CNN is focusing on this region of the elephants when asking its prediction. So this kind of result is incredibly helpful when we want to understand, debug, or trust our deep learning models. Okay, so or let's take a closer look at some more examples of GradCam in action. So these visualizations are taken directly from the original GradCam paper, which can check out on the link here. And these images demonstrates how the algorithm highlights the regions of the image that were most influential in the model's prediction. For instance, when the model predicted cat, so you can see that the Grand Cam highlights the head region, especially the somewhat here, no, the the body, or especially I think that it also includes the eyes here or the ears, maybe, or which makes sense since the that's a strong distinguishing feature. Similarly, for the dog prediction, so the heat map focuses on the dog's face. So the heat map is overlaid on the original image, and the intensity indicates how much each region contributed to the model's decision. So the red areas represent strong positive influence, which while the cooler colors show less relevance. So the GradCam is incredibly useful. So it helps us understand what parts of the image the model is relying on to make its decision, giving us more transparency into this otherwise black box scene. And so, how exactly does GradCam work? So, GradCam or gradient weighted class activation mapping works by leveraging the spatial information retained in the convolutional layers of a neural network. Specifically, it utilizes the feature maps produced by the final convolutional layer. So this one is the highlighted one in pink in the diagram. So at this point, at this point in the network, we insert some differentiable layers after the last convolutional output. So this is essential because it allows us to compute gradients with respect to a specific class. So GradCam then calculates the weights called the alpha values by taking the gradients of the output with respect to the feature map. So these alpha values essentially captures how important each feature map is for particular class. Using these weights, we generate a class specific heat map. So in fact, we can create a unique heat map for each output class. The resulting heat map is then upsampled and overlaid on the original image to provide a visual explanation of what the model is focusing on. In a moment, we'll dive into how to implement GradCam. I think we will try using it in Keras and PyTorch using our Colab notebook, and we will all explore this um, a few of its variations. So stay tuned for the laboratory exercises for topic 5 for part 1 and part 2. Thank you for listening.